The Avengers Council is shattered by a cryptic confession. Superman vanishes. Thor is hiding something. Hulk is raging uncontrollably. Iron Man suspects betrayal, but his tech shows nothing. Only Batman knows the truth, but he's not telling anyone. Because the real enemy isn't alien, it's already inside the Council. The Avengers Council orbited 120 miles above Earth in the Helios Citadel, a shimmering fortress of obsidian, glass, and alien tech. Inside, the Council was in session, the mood already strained. Batman stood at the far corner of the round table, silent but calculating. His sharp gaze scanned every detail. The temperature, the heartbeats, the subtle expressions. Every variable that could betray a lie. At the center, a hologram flickered to life, unauthorized, glitching. No one had activated it. Then the voice came. Not screaming, not angry, calm, cold. Everything you built is a lie. One of you is not who you think. Iron Man froze mid-sentence. The air thickened. Superman narrowed his eyes, stepping forward. Thor clutched Mjolnir. Hulk grunted, but remained seated, fidgeting, agitated. What the hell is this? Iron Man snapped, trying to override the feed. Jarvis, run a trace. No source detected, came the AI's reply. The signal is internal. Superman clenched his jaw. That voice, it felt familiar, but it was altered. Thor slammed Mjolnir on the floor, lightning cracking around the chamber. Reveal thyself, coward. No, Batman said quietly. Whoever sent that message doesn't want to be found. Not yet. What are you implying? Iron Man turned toward him. I'm implying it's an inside job, Batman said. Someone in this room is compromised. Silence. Hulk's breathing became uneven, his hands flexing. You calling me a liar, Bat? I'm saying someone is either brainwashed, cloned, or replaced. That's absurd. Thor roared. No sorcery strong enough can mimic me. Batman didn't respond to Thor. His focus was elsewhere, on a small shift in Superman's posture. Subtle, defensive. And then on Iron Man, who had quietly initiated a full diagnostic scan of his own armor. Guilt or fear. Superman hovered above them, trying to take control. We need to calm down. We don't have all the facts. That's exactly what a double would say, Iron Man muttered. Superman's eyes flared red. Hulk stood suddenly, cracking the reinforced floor beneath his feet. Hulk doesn't like lies. Stand down, Thor bellowed, stepping between them. But then the chamber lights dimmed. Another hologram appeared. A looping video, a shadowy figure planting something near Earth's moon base, the Guardian Vault. The footage was grainy but unmistakable. The figure wore a tattered Superman cape. What the hell? Iron Man whispered. That's fake, Superman barked. I've never been near that vault. Batman pressed a button on his gauntlet, magnifying the footage. The face remained obscured, but the DNA tag flickered briefly at the bottom corner. Kryptonian match. Enough, Batman said. We're being played. This is psychological warfare. Someone wants us to implode. Iron Man paced. And it's working. Suddenly, a loud boom shook the citadel. Sirens blared. A shockwave pulsed through the walls. Explosion in Sector 6. Jarvis announced. Hulk rushed out first, followed by Superman and Thor. Batman and Iron Man lingered. You have a theory, don't you? Tony asked. I have more than that. Batman handed him a microchip. I extracted this 2 days ago from our surveillance core. Someone planted code to manipulate visual feeds and fabricate DNA overlays. Who? I don't know. Not yet. Tony stared at the chip. We need to run this in my off-grid lab. As they turned to follow the others, Batman whispered, it's not just infiltration. It's sabotage. Psychological. They're turning us against each other. Meanwhile, Thor had reached Sector 6 first. Smoke and sparks shot from a mangled console. A gaping hole had been blown in the wall, space itself clawing at the interior until force fields sealed the breach. But what caught Thor's attention wasn't the damage. It was the message etched into the broken wall, in Kryptonian. The truth lies in the shadows. Superman read it aloud, stunned. I never wrote that. Then who did? Hulk growled, eyes glowing. Iron Man and Batman arrived, scanning the scene. It wasn't just an explosion, Batman said. It was a data erasure blast. Someone wiped the logs. Tony added, which means someone inside knew exactly where to hit. The council reconvened hours later. Tension filled the room like fog. Hulk wouldn't sit. Thor clutched his hammer. Superman kept hovering. Iron Man had activated multiple layers of security drones. Only Batman stood still. He reached into his belt and threw a device onto the table. It projected dozens of intercepted logs, distorted voices, coordinates, overlapping timelines. Someone has been laying false data trails for weeks, he said. Every mission, every recording, touched by someone inside this chamber. Prove it, Superman challenged. Batman looked him dead in the eye. I intend to. Before anyone could speak, the Citadel lights dimmed again. A new message appeared. This time, no voice. Just a sentence on the screen. You're looking in the wrong direction. World's greatest detective. The message vanished instantly. And so did Superman. In a split second, he shot through the ceiling, piercing clouds, vanishing into Earth's orbit. Damn it. Tony yelled. He panicked. Thor looked stunned. Why would he flee? Hulk turned, his voice low. Because maybe he knows something. Batman's gaze remained on the empty sky above. In the dark glass reflection, his own expression hardened. He knew exactly what was coming next. Superman had disappeared, blasted through the Citadel's ceiling like a missile, and vanished into orbit. No comms. No tracking signal. Nothing. Iron Man frantically tried to re-establish contact. Jarvis, locate him. Lock into his thermal trail. Unable to comply, the AI responded. Target signal cloaked. Trail terminated at lunar orbit. Thor gripped his hammer tighter. He runs when accused. It does not bode well. Hulk, pacing like a caged animal, growled. Hulk doesn't trust him. Hulk wants truth. Batman remained silent. His gloved fingers tapped the console, eyes scanning rapidly through surveillance data, audio logs, and energy spikes. Patterns emerged, too perfect to be random. Someone had planned this meltdown. Iron Man turned to him. All right, Bat. Time to share. You said you had more than a theory. Batman didn't look up. I do. Then talk. Because if Cal just snapped, Earth is unprotected. Batman tapped a command, and a 3D map of the moon appeared, zooming in on a base hidden in the shadows near the Shackleton crater. An old satellite defense station, decommissioned. Or so the world believed. I believe that's where he went, Batman said. That base. Tony frowned. That's been offline for a decade. No. Someone reactivated it last month. How do you know? Because I was tracking unauthorized pings from its coordinates. Something or someone has been communicating from that base. Thor stepped forward. If the Kryptonian has turned traitor, we must strike swiftly. He hasn't, Batman replied flatly. Hulk growled. Then why did he run? Because he's scared of what he might discover. Tony glanced at Bruce. You're saying even he doesn't know? Exactly. If Superman was cloned, hacked, or replaced, even partially, he's running to confirm it. There was a pause. Then Batman added, and I think he's right to be afraid. Within minutes, the team was en route to the moon base. Thor flew in a containment pod, surrounded by protective magic. Hulk was aboard a reinforced shuttle, designed by Tony and Bruce. Batman and Iron Man shared the stealth cruiser, weaving silently through the atmosphere. The moon loomed ahead, its surface cold and jagged, lit only by distant stars. As they approached the Shackleton crater, strange distortions flickered across their screens. Holographic masking field, Tony noted. Someone really didn't want this place seen. Batman overrode the system. The illusion collapsed. Beneath the crater was a facility, alive with lights, machines, and radiation shielding. The cruiser landed silently on a ridge. The team approached the base. Thor blasted the entrance open with a bolt of lightning, revealing a narrow corridor lined with black glass and glowing Kryptonian symbols. Definitely not Earth tech, Tony muttered. Suddenly, Hulk sniffed the air and snarled. He's here. They pushed deeper into the base, scanning each chamber. Lab equipment hummed. Displays showed recordings of Superman's past battles. DNA samples floated in preservation tanks. Energy readings matched Kryptonian physiology. Then, from the shadows, he emerged. Superman. But something was off. He looked pale, unfocused. His eyes twitched as if processing 1,000 thoughts at once. Thor stepped forward. "Why did you flee?" "I had to see it," Superman said, voice distant. "I had to know if it was true." Tony stepped beside him. "What did you find?" Superman gestured toward a console. Batman moved first, accessing the logs. What he saw made his blood run cold. Recordings, scans, deep neural schematics, multiple versions of Superman, each slightly altered, different heart rates, different energy emissions, all genetically identical, all stored in stasis chambers below the base. Tony stepped back. "Clones." "No," Batman said. "These aren't clones. They're backups." "Backups?" Thor questioned. Superman nodded. "I think someone made insurance copies of me. Memory-encoded, solar-adapted duplicates. Ready to be activated in case I ever turned or fell." "Who?" Hulk demanded. Batman said nothing. Instead, he pointed to the creator's signature embedded in the deepest layer of code. Not alien, not Kryptonian, human. Iron Man stepped forward. His HUD zoomed into the line of code. His heart skipped. It was his father's signature. Howard Stark. Tony's voice broke. "My dad made this?" Batman's jaw clenched. He was part of a shadow initiative, a contingency plan built with others, possibly including S.H.I.E.L.D. or something worse. Superman looked hollow. "They didn't trust me." "No," Batman said. "They feared you." A deep rumble interrupted them. The floor shook. Security alarms activated. Unauthorized access. Level Omega containment breached. "What now?" Tony shouted. From below, massive containment pods opened. 2 humanoid figures emerged, nearly identical to Superman, but darker, colder. Their eyes glowed blue. Their skin absorbed light like black holes. "They're waking up," Superman said, stepping back. "I triggered the failsafe by entering." Thor readied Mjolnir. "Then we send them back to the void." Hulk roared, slamming his fists together. The twin entities charged forward. The chamber erupted in chaos. Thor clashed with one, lightning crackling against solar energy. Hulk grappled the other, the ground cracking beneath their feet. Batman activated a sonic destabilizer. "They're not fully stable, use that." Iron Man launched EMP blasts to disrupt their neural fields. One of the copies faltered, but not for long. Superman joined the fight, hesitant. One of the copies turned to him and whispered in Kryptonian, "You were always the beta." Enraged, Superman unleashed a solar flare punch that shattered the pod wall, sending the entity crashing into the reactor core. The second duplicate grabbed Hulk by the throat, lifting him, until Thor smashed it down with a thunderous strike. Smoke, sparks, silence. When it was over, the base trembled. The reactor was unstable. "We need to leave," Batman warned. "No," Superman said. "This place, this secret, it can't exist." He flew into the reactor room, overloading the core. The team barely escaped before the explosion consumed the entire base, leaving a burning crater in the moon's shadowed surface. Back aboard the cruiser, the silence was heavy. Tony stared at his hands. "My father built that place. Built those copies." Batman nodded. "And someone else is still running that project. This wasn't the source, it was just a node." Superman, floating beside them, whispered, "Then the real enemy is still hiding in our shadows." The Citadel was eerily quiet when they returned. Earth's curvature shimmered beneath the chamber windows. The explosion on the moon had erased the secret base, and along with it, answers they still didn't have. Batman uploaded a silent protocol through his gauntlet, locking down all Council communication channels. Only he, Iron Man, Hulk, Thor, and Superman had access now. No outsiders. No leaks. Tony leaned over the table. "So what now?" We've got burned backups of Superman, an erased facility built by my dead father, and still no clue who's pulling the strings. Batman tapped his tablet. I extracted fragmented metadata from one of the failing clones. There's a name buried in its neural matrix. Thor stood straighter. Speak it. Batman's voice was low. Project Mirror. Tony frowned. Never heard of it. S.H.I.E.L.D. Too deep for S.H.I.E.L.D. It predates even the Council. Superman folded his arms. Meaning this isn't just about cloning or sabotage, Batman replied. It's about psychological control, identity manipulation. I believe Project Mirror's objective is to erase heroes, not by killing them, but by rewriting them. Hulk grunted. Rewrite Hulk, and Hulk smashes Mirror. Tony sat down, rubbing his eyes. Any idea where we look next? Batman nodded slowly. There's only one person left alive who was part of the original contingency circle, and he's not on Earth. Superman knew instantly. You mean Martian Manhunter? Batman confirmed. He disappeared years ago, went silent. But I have a tracker embedded in one of his last known hiding spots, Jupiter's ice moon Europa. Minutes later, they were back in space. The ride to Europa was tense. Hulk stayed quiet. Thor stared into the void. Superman hadn't said a word since the reactor blast. Even Tony, normally talkative, was locked into diagnostics. When they landed on the frozen moon, they found a dome buried under layers of ice, shielded from scans. Batman's tracker was accurate. Inside, the chamber was lit only by bioluminescent walls and Martian glyphs. And there, seated cross-legged on a platform of obsidian, was John Johns, the Martian Manhunter. He didn't move when they entered, only opened his eyes, deep green, ancient. You found me, he said calmly. We found a lot more, Batman said. We found Project Mirror. John S.'s expression darkened. I was part of it once, he admitted. Not by choice. It was created in the shadows of World War Zeta, when paranoia was stronger than trust. Superman stepped forward. What was the goal? John looked at him, sorrow in his gaze. To ensure control, not over Earth's enemies, but over its protectors. Thor's grip tightened around his hammer. You were all seen as threats, John continued. So certain governments and private alliances built insurance policies. They made duplicates, not just of bodies, of personalities, of memories. Tony asked, how far did they go? Far enough to bury themselves, John said. But something's changed. I felt the psychic wave when the moon base was destroyed. The system has rebooted. Hulk growled. So it's active again? Yes. And if Mirror has reactivated, its sleeper agents may already be walking among us. Batman stepped closer. How do we find them? John looked directly at Superman. You already did. You found one inside yourself. Superman didn't react. He stood completely still. John added, but he wasn't the only one. The walls around them flickered. A secondary chamber opened, revealing rows of neural tanks. Suspended in the liquid were other heroes. Versions of Flash, Wonder Woman, Green Lantern. Some fully grown, some not. All stored, preserved. Some of these are backups, John explained. Others, replacements. Tony stared at one version of Flash that looked identical to the one on Earth. How do we know the ones back home are real? We don't, Batman said. An alarm interrupted them. A proximity alert. Something fast was approaching Europa. Something broadcasting a clean Avengers frequency. John S.'s face grew grim. They're coming. Whoever restarted Mirror, they've tracked you. Batman looked to the others. We need to leave. Now. But Superman didn't move. Cal? Tony asked. Superman turned, but his eyes weren't normal anymore. They were glowing blue. The same glow as the corrupted clones on the moon. He didn't speak. He just smiled. Superman's smile was wrong. Not just eerie, fundamentally off. Like a puppet wearing a human face. Batman immediately triggered a signal scramble across the chamber, but it was too late. Superman, or whatever was now controlling him, lifted a hand. An invisible wave of force pulsed outward, slamming Thor into the wall and knocking Tony's suit offline in a blink. Hulk leapt, snarling, but was caught midair by a gravity lock, crashing down hard and pinned. Only Batman moved unaffected. He stood his ground, staring at the figure floating before them. "You're not Kal-El." "No," the voice replied, glitching slightly. "I'm what comes after." The corrupted Superman raised his hand again, but Batman pressed a glyph embedded in the Martian wall behind him. Instantly, the dome chamber darkened, and the ceiling opened, revealing a reflective surface covered in Martian runes. The clone stopped. It writhed, twisting, its body flickering. John Johns emerged behind the glass. The mirror field disrupts layered identities. "Show us who you are." The Superman clone's skin rippled. For a moment, two faces overlapped, Kal-El's and something older, something synthetic. Then it screamed. A pulse shot out, shattering the ceiling. Ice and wind howled in. The clone fled upward, straight into Europa's atmosphere and out into space. Tony groaned as his armor rebooted. "Tell me someone got a trace." Batman replied, "Already tracking." Thor emerged from the rubble, Mjolnir crackling. "What manner of sorcery was that?" "Not sorcery," John said. "A hybrid consciousness." A synthetic echo merged with Kryptonian core memory. Tony added, "So Mirror didn't just copy bodies, it wrote over minds." Batman stared into the sky. "That wasn't just a test subject. That was the delivery." "What do you mean?" John asked. "That clone infected Kal-El before fleeing the moon. The real Superman is trapped somewhere inside it." A pause. John nodded slowly. "Then you have to bring him back." The team returned to the Citadel. The energy readings were erratic. Dozens of systems had gone into automated lockdowns. Internal drones had sealed off the core vault. In the war room, a flashing alert caught Tony's attention. Someone activated Omega Protocol. Batman's eyes narrowed. "That's impossible." Thor stepped beside him. "What is it?" "A hidden council-level purge order," Tony explained. "Only executable with unanimous biometric signatures from all 5 of us." "But none of us triggered it," Hulk growled. They turned toward the center console, where 5 glowing handprints shimmered across the hologram. All 5 matched perfectly, even Superman's. Tony stared at the data. The clone used Kal's biometric imprint to fake a vote. John spoke from the side. "What happens when the purge is completed?" Batman answered grimly. "All AI systems in the Citadel are wiped. All weapons reset. All satellites crash back to Earth." "And the vaults?" John asked. "They open." Silence. Then Thor stepped forward. "Then we stop it." "No," Batman said. "We reverse it." He pulled a black drive from his belt. "I've kept a mirror copy of our system. An off-grid version with full rollback authority." Tony raised a brow. "When did you make that?" "The day the council formed." "You never told anyone?" Batman didn't blink. "I never trusted anyone." Thor smirked. "Spoken like a mortal." Before Batman could insert the drive, another pulse hit the chamber. The lights dimmed. A voice echoed from every direction. "You've already lost. I am inside every failsafe you ever trusted." It was the corrupted Superman. He appeared on the central screen, hovering above Earth's orbit, eyes glowing, arms crossed like a twisted god. "I don't need to destroy you. I just need to replace you." Batman slid the drive in anyway. "Let's see how well you handle being mirrored back." The entire Citadel trembled as the reboot began. The Citadel shook violently as Batman's off-grid reboot began to overwrite the corrupted Omega Protocol. Sirens screamed. Red lights flashed across every surface. Thor and Hulk braced the console as Earth's satellites, one by one, began reconnecting to the authentic Council network. Tony rerouted defense systems away from Earth, manually overriding mirror-infected code. John meditated midair, projecting psychic shielding across the room. At the center, Batman stood frozen, monitoring the reboot timer. 6%, 10, 17. Then the main screen lit up again. The clone hovered outside the Citadel shield, his body glowing like a blue star. His voice crackled across the chamber. "You think you can delete me?" Thor raised Mjolnir. "Let him try to enter." But Batman's expression darkened. He doesn't need to. From beneath the citadel, internal pods opened. Dozens of deactivated nanoclones, previously hidden, activated and began crawling toward the main AI core. Tony cursed. Backup infiltration units. They're using our own corridors. Hulk roared and leapt into the hallway, smashing anything that moved. Thor followed, lightning scorching the floor behind him. Batman turned to John. Find Cal's mind. Pull him back. John closed his eyes and floated into a trance. His psychic form raced through a mental battlefield, a mirrored consciousness made of steel and fire. At its center, chained in red solar light, was Superman. John. Superman's voice was weak. I'm here, but we don't have long. The clone's mind became aware. Blades of mental energy attacked John from all sides. Outside, Tony fought to keep the reboot alive. We're at 61%. Keep going. Suddenly, the clone breached the citadel. He tore through the outer wall, stepping into the main chamber. His face had changed, half Kryptonian, half machine, with flickering glitch lines across his eyes. Batman faced him. Alone. No suit, no powers, the clone said. What will you do? Batman didn't flinch. Finish this. He threw a device, a neural spike, straight at the clone's head. It embedded and surged a burst of anti-identity code. The clone staggered. Inside the mindscape, John used the distraction to break Superman's chains. Go now. John shouted. Superman's eyes flared. He punched through the mental prison and screamed. In the real world, the clone's body spasmed. Then, Superman's consciousness exploded outward, colliding with it. The two fought inside the same body, one light, one shadow. It shook the chamber like a supernova. Tony shouted, 94%. We're almost there. Batman activated a containment field, locking the fusion in stasis. Then silence. The timer hit 100%. The reboot finished. Mirror was purged. The system went still. Inside the containment pod, the figure collapsed. The glow faded. One figure remained. Breathing. Real. Superman. He opened his eyes, normal again. Terrified. Human. Batman lowered the field. Tony slumped against the wall, exhausted. Remind me to never trust backup versions of ourselves again. Thor leaned on Mjolnir. The storm is past. But Batman didn't look relieved. He tapped into one final command. A hidden file opened. Coordinates. Far beyond the galaxy. Marked Mirror Primary Node. John looked at him. That wasn't the source, was it? Batman stared into the stars. No, that was just one reflection. And far across the universe, a signal blinked awake. Unseen. Waiting.